Roadcaster. Yeah. Okay. And we're live and we're here and it's 9 something and we were not paying attention. God bless you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome
Hi.
to you gonna have to put your mic a little closer so we can hear that melodious voice.
Good evening.
There it is. Praise the Lord. Good evening. It's Thursday. It is 9:01 p.m. on this 24th day of the month of June in this 2021 year. And I tell you what, we are right where we're supposed to be. It is that time of the week. It is that time of the day. It is that time when we jump on the couch and we have conversations that married couples should be talking about. Listen, that's Veta.
And he's Mac.
And this is Couch Conversations. It's been a week, y'all.
Yes.
Let me tell
Y'all
you.
can't tell from our
Before we get into
face
it,
and our posture.
it has been a week. We traveled over the weekend and just trying to get back into it. I think I'm still trying to recover from my vacation.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be honest with you. Trying to get back into the rhythm. I can't look. I can't.
Can't even talk.
Trying to get back into the rhythm of life, trying to get back into the flow that we had pre-vacation has been a challenge for your boy. Let me tell you. Anybody else have trouble like that? I know it's, we got another topic that we're going to cover tonight, but have you guys ever had a challenge when you come back from vacation and it's hard to get back into your flow? How did you feel when we came back from vacation? I know that's not a chill topic, but we just need to talk for a second.
I didn't want to get up the next day when we got back. I was like, oh, get back to life, back to reality.
It's weird because while on vacation, someone asked me, they said, hey, listen, are you rested enough where you don't want to, I think, how did they put it? They were like, how you doing? I was like, I'm good. I'm feeling real well rested. And they were like, you don't want to go back to work. I was like, no, actually, I'm rested enough that I'm ready to go back. It was, I think, Friday when we were getting ready to get on the plane. They asked me that question, but I was feeling rested enough that I was ready to come back. But now I'm just having a hard time getting back into the flow.
Yeah.
Getting back into that. And I know it's been 2 weeks now since we've been back, but I'm just having a hard time getting
well, we're here on the
right.
couch, so
yeah.
We're glad that you guys joined us.
Listen, thank you so much for
today
being here.
or tonight.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
We hope all the fathers had a wonderful Father's Day that you celebrated with your families.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope that you wives celebrated your husbands who are fathers in your life because they are the fathers of your children. Mm-hmm. And so as a result of that, but here's more than anything else, and this is something that I've been wrestling. I don't think we've ever talked about this, or at least we've never talked about my take on this. I've always felt that if a wife doesn't celebrate her husband on Father's Day, that's okay, because the children should celebrate the father on Father's Day. And likewise on Mother's Day. I feel like those holidays are more for the children to the parent than they are from the spouse to the spouse. I've every year when these two holidays come around, Father's Day and Mother's Day, I always ponder this concept, this notion. Is it apropos for a spouse to celebrate their other spouse for Mother's Day, for Father's Day, or is it more appropriate for the children to be the primary? I've always felt that as a husband, yes, I'm celebrating you because you're a mother, a wonderful mother, great mother, and you should be. I'm talking about you specifically. Mm-hmm. You should be celebrated. I've always tried to instill into your children the notion that they should be jumping up and down. They should be going out of their way. They should be making a fuss because it's Mother's Day. Specifically, it's their mother. I've always felt like children should celebrate more. Yeah, but you wouldn't
be a father without the mother. So this...
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. So you are celebrating your wife for being the mother of your children.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true.
So I guess.
But then here's the caveat, because we get this question all the time. What do you do when you're married to someone and y'all don't have children together, but the other spouse does? For example, let's say you had kids by somebody before me and you and I didn't have kids. Well, then how do I celebrate you being the mother of the children if the children aren't mine?
I'm still a mother.
You know what?
That's the answer. I'm still a mother.
Okay. And how does that play out on Father's Day? If I'm not the father of your children, do you celebrate me?
Yeah, well, you're one unit, aren't you?
Hopefully. As a married couple, you should be.
I mean, you're one unit, so you're celebrating the person.
But it's not Parents' Day. It's Father's Day, Mother's Day.
Yes, but you said if
the husband is a father to children that are not the wives that are not his wives. Jesus, this is getting so convoluted. Okay.
We way question, off topic. We haven't even gotten to the topic
this ain't
yet.
even the topic for tonight. We driving our producer crazy. The question is, if one spouse had children prior to the marriage, and then after they said I do, they did not produce children together.
You thinking too hard.
I think I am thinking too hard. That tells y'all
they
how
still
tired
parents.
I am. Oh Lord, that's my phone. That ain't even supposed to be over there.
They're still parents.
You know what? We're just gonna move on. How about
on
that?
To the topic.
Did we already tell you that it is Thursday? Yes, we did.
Yes,
and
it's Thursday, June the 24th, 2021. That's how we be talking on the couch too. We just be like random talking.
Exactly how we are at home. This is how the whole thing started. I promise you.
Why are you randomly talking like
right? Just that comes.
Where
stuff
did that
comes out
come
of left
from?
field every time. All right. Well, listen, we are back from vacation physically, if not mentally. And we are trying to get into the rhythm of things. I'm grateful for this time because it, as much as it is important for us to share with people, this is a time when I can just decompress.
Yeah.
I like sitting on the couch with you, because I can just woo to the side and relax. Because it's this, y'all don't understand how comfortable this couch is right now. Like your boy trying to stay awake. That's why we got all these lights in here. Praise the Lord, because I'm telling you, it's not a game. It's so comfortable. Topic. Yes. What are we talking about tonight? Praise the Lord. Yes. Today's topic is role identity. Who defines who I am? And I'm not going to throw my producer under the bus. Facebook groups that come along, and I'm part of a lot of married couple groups on Facebook, and so there's always that question. Someone puts in a chat group or someone starts the conversation. You know, who's supposed to be the leader? Who's supposed to be the provider? Who's supposed to, what do I do if? All those kinds of questions. I think the most recent one I saw was, what am I supposed to do if I make more? The lady was saying, what is she supposed to do if she makes more money than her husband? And all of that kind of stuff. Then someone put in there,
you're supposed to share it.
In the name. The question, what do I do? My wife decided she wanted to stay home, and she's expecting me to pay all the bills. Those kinds of questions. You get a lot of those questions.
Pay the bills.
So it begs the ultimate question, who defines who I am in this relationship, in this marriage? I mean, let me ask you, as the wife, how would you define yourself in our marriage?
How would I define myself in marriage?
Yes. Like in terms of your role, what would you say your role is in our marriage?
I don't feel like I have a role.
Okay.
I mean, I just feel like I'm your wife, and I'm your you just threw the question at me.
Yeah, that's kind of how that works.
Yeah, I know, but I wasn't thinking of answer when you said it. Like I had to like really ponder it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think it's a role. It's just I'm your wife and I support you. I'm your supporter. I don't think it's a role though.
Okay. So
Are you talking about, you know how like before we had kids, who would do the dishes, who would take the trash out, stuff like that, who would cook dinner? You talking about stuff like that?
does that apply in terms of a role?
No, because I don't see it that way.
Okay. How do you see it?
I mean, I just see it as we live in the house and it needs to be taken care of. Pertaining to that topic, when I was saying chores, I mean, I don't be like, oh, it's your day to do the dishes or it's your day to vacuum the floor. I just do it because it needs to be done. But I don't feel like it's a role like
you're supposed to.
You're supposed to because you're the man. You're supposed to take out the trash, or you're the man. You're supposed to mow the lawn.
Yeah.
I'm the wife or the mom. I'm supposed to do the girl's hair, or
I can't do hair.
I know, but I'm just saying. Hair,
but I can't.
It's no. I don't think it's a role.
You don't see it as your responsibility because you're the wife or the woman. You see it as something that you do because you can.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Because in the household where it was just women in my household, they did everything anyway. So it was just there was not a man in that. You heard me say this. My DC accent.
Coming out when she tired. That's what happened. That's what happened when she tired. When she's sleepy. Listen.
There was not a man in the house other than my brothers.
Right.
But
there was 3 of them. But go ahead.
No, I mean,
it wasn't 3 of them. It was 4 of them.
They wasn't in the house, but
okay,
it was one brother. I'm just saying, like there wasn't a husband, so it was the women who.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah.
So it was the single moms.
They were men.
Yeah, right. But so they were single moms, and all we saw was the women taking care of everything, taking care of the house, taking care of the children, going to work, 2-3 jobs, coming back, having dinner prepared, all of that stuff. So there was no
husband.
There
was no husband to play that role. Gotcha.
So you saying play the role? Play what? The husband role?
In however a husband role would be defined, because at the end of the day, no,
that's different.
That can be a descriptive as part of the role.
I don't like that word role. Like you have a role in your marriage. Like that sounds weird.
It sounds weird because there is a contending concept that society keeps battling with, mostly in the last 2 decades. In the 2000s, they've tried to redefine the idea of roles in the marriage. Because and take this with a grain of salt, listeners. Don't get mad at me, but it's just reality. There are more same-sex marriages where it challenges the definition of a husband and a wife.
Oh, I mean, that makes sense.
So that's why society has been redefining the roles in marriage.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I believe that there is a healthy challenge that should come to the definition of roles in a marriage. For example, I believe as your husband, I do have a certain role to play: protector, provider, caretaker, not to be confused with caregiver. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show, because that's in my notes. But as your husband, I'm talking about you and I now, I believe that I do have a role to play, and it falls within the guidelines of being the provider, the protector, and the caretaker. And so as a result, does that mean that I have to make more money than you? No. It does mean that I need to bring money into the house. Mm-hmm. Does it mean that I control you and tell you what to do? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. It means that we work together. I just saw a post this evening on Facebook in one of those groups where their statement was, it's not, well, how did they put it? When a decision needs to be made and you check with your spouse first, it's not them controlling you. It's a sign of respect.
Respect. I'm about to say it's a sign of
Right.
respect.
It's a sign of respect that says, hey, this is what I'm thinking I want to do. This is what I'm about to do, what have you. And so for me, as your husband, I believe I have a role to play where I'm protecting you. I'm taking care of you and your needs as best I can, that I am providing a healthy, peaceful, passionate life for you where you can enjoy everything and every day as much as possible, recognizing there are certain things that are outside of my control, i.e. your work environment, your play environment with your friends, etc. There are certain aspects of your life I have no control over, nor do I have anything to contribute to them. When you with your girlfriends, you with your girlfriends. When you're at work, I have nothing to do with that. My responsibility picks up when you check out of those areas. Once you come home, I'm on the clock. When you're awake, I'm on the clock. When you're asleep, I'm on the clock.
Are there equal roles in a marriage?
See, that's the question.
Is that
That's a question. And I believe that the answer for me, the answer would be no. Because
it's different in other households.
Because every marriage is different.
Yeah.
Because every husband is different from every other husband. I can talk about Brian Ringo because that's my brother. Brian and I are completely different people, even though we have a lot of things in common. You and his wife, Megan, completely different people, even though you guys have a lot of things in common. Your twin sister, Lisa, completely different person than you. And so as a result of that, it would not be a fair assessment to say that there are equal roles in any marriage, because no two marriages are equal. Yeah. You have your job to do.
And you shouldn't compare.
Job to do. Absolutely. Should not compare.
Well, he was doing it at their house. Why you can't do it?
Right. Why you don't be doing? You ain't cook your lasagna like she cooks hers. I don't understand. Listen, married couples, please don't do that. Shout out to Brian and Megan. Please don't do that. Don't go home browbeating your spouse because of what's happened at somebody else's house or how they do their life. Y'all two different people. Y'all two different couples. Be the best version of yourselves and all of that. Now
together.
It's one thing to say, hey, can we get that recipe?
Yeah.
But don't be like, why yours is dry and hers ain't dry. Don't do that. Don't do that. Find a better way to communicate that you want to try the recipe. But I do believe that every couple does have roles that they need to assume in their marriage. And again, those roles will be different because every couple is different. You do have some couples that, the wife wants to be a stay-at-home mom. So her role should be to maintain the house because she's home all day. That's the thing.
They're going to be like typing. Because when he
they coming for me.
When he get in, I'm off.
But I say that understanding that the spouse that's home is the spouse who should be primarily responsible for taking care of the house. What? I'm sorry. Something you'd like to share?
Did you say primarily?
The spouse that stays home should primarily be the one to take care of the house.
Wait, are you saying alone or with kids? Because it's a totally different thing with kids.
It is a totally different thing. And yet, you're the adult in the situation.
And
it should make a difference.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking from experience. There was a season when I was a stay-at-home dad, remember?
Yes. But I mean, like you said, every marriage is different. Every marriage spouse is different. So it might be different than,
But that doesn't.
I wouldn't say primarily.
Well, that's because you don't want to deal with your children.
That's not true.
Okay, well then break it down.
I deal with my children well.
Yeah,
when
that's
I was
true.
I agree. Home mom.
I agree wholeheartedly. You took care of the house. I never came home to a dirty house.
I'm just saying you can't say primarily. Like,
why not?
I don't know. It's just because some people deal with stuff differently, and their household may not be the way they want it to be because they're home with kids or
I don't see why that would be
Okay,
a
we're going
problem.
to start talking to some other couples because
I don't see where that would be a problem. If you're home all day, even if you have 2, 3, 5 kids,
12 kids.
if you
Psych, I'm
got
just
12
joking.
kids, you got a daycare, you need to be charging somebody.
You can't charge your own kids.
Listen, I'm just saying. Um, but the reality is,
It
I had
becomes
to
a
bring it.
challenge when it's more kids.
Yeah, and I won't ever take that away from
Yes.
anybody. Nevertheless, what we're ultimately saying is, if you're home all day, kids or no kids, you should be able to keep the house relatively neat and clean. Relatively neat and clean. I mean, remember when we were living in Indiana, we had 4 kids under 5.
Yeah.
They had a playroom. So anything that they did it in that room, which meant the living room stayed clean, the dining room stayed clean, the kitchen was clean until
Sometimes.
you did lunch. Most of the time. Again, when you stayed home with our kids and I went off to go to work, I never came home to a dirty
So
house.
I was home with the kids. You were off at work. When you came home, it
The
was
house
dinner
was-
time. Did you make dinner?
No, I didn't say dinner time. I didn't say dinner.
No, I'm just saying.
But the
like-
house, I'm talking about the house.
Okay.
The house was always neat and mostly clean. And if it wasn't, it's because the kids was playing.
Right.
I mean, we're not talking about a disheveled mess where you got nasty food everywhere and stains on the carpet and that kind of thing, trash overflowing. You kept a good, clean house.
Okay.
Always. You still do.
I'm about to say we getting
But-
off topic.
No. We're still
Oh,
on
we still
topic.
on
We're still-
topic.
because what I'm saying is, think back to when you went to work and I stayed home with the baby. You would come home, laundry would be done, and the house would be basically clean. You know, of course, I'm not saying you got to mop and dust every day. No, that's unrealistic. But folded clothes or, a straight environment
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not
People
talking.
gonna come for you for this one.
They'd be all right. I'm not saying that the spouse
They're
that
probably
stays
like,
home.
you come to my house.
I'm not saying that the spouse that stays home should be washing the windows every day and ironing the sheets all. I'm not saying that to those extremes. But what I am saying is, if I go to work for 8 hours and then come home, there should not be a need for me.
Well, home is an 8-hour job also.
I agree.
Whoever stays home, that's an 8-hour job.
Whoever stays home.
Yeah, that's what
See,
I'm saying.
that's the
Whoever
key.
stays home.
That's what I'm saying.
That's an
the key.
8-hour
All day long.
job. That's
all day
more
long
than
and twice
8
on
hours,
Sunday.
but
The younger your children are, the more challenging it will be. For
Yeah.
certain. For certain. I won't take that away from anybody, male or female. The younger your children are, the more challenging it will be. Yet, nevertheless, that being said, I'm still of the school of thought, and I might be the only one in that class. The person who stays home, husband or wife, the one that stays home should be that's why I say primary. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't do something when I come home. I mean, like I said, when you stayed home and I went to work, I came home, the house was always mostly clean, and anything that was a mess was the kids' toys.
Mhm.
So it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm always been practical. Okay, so let me throw this in there. If you're the spouse that goes to work and your spouse stays home with the kids and the babies, don't come home acting a fool because the kids' toys is in the middle of the living room, or you might trip over or something. Don't come home acting a fool. You've been home all day. Why is it a mess? No. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's petty. Don't be petty, especially if you had a bad day at work. Say that. Hey, look, I had a bad day at work. Give me 2 minutes. I'm gonna go in the room and get myself together. But don't bring your mess home, please. And whether you got small kids or not, if you have a hard day at work, come home and find peace. But you got to communicate with your spouse.
Yeah.
Listen, I had a bad day and I just need a minute. Or, hey, I had a bad day. I need to scream. There was times when she would come home. She had a bad day. It wasn't my fault, but she would yell at me. But she wasn't taking it out on me. She was just letting it out to me. Big difference. We'll have to do a whole show on that another day. Okay, so tonight we're talking about role identity and who defines who I am.
We need to do this at early time. You like tongue tied. You're so sleepy.
I could probably use some more coffee. I've been cutting back on my caffeine. That's not a good thing. I need I need to pray about it. But it's interesting. Stop. I'm trying to stay on topic here. You hear that age old question: who wears pants in the family?
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Things like that. There's this story out there. Um, um, there's a story of a man who lived and then died. He went to heaven. When he got to heaven, he found two signs, and there were two lines. One sign said, "All the men who have been dominated by their wives stand in this line," and that line seemed to stretch on for eternity. Like he couldn't even see the end of that line. The other sign said, "All those men who were never dominated by their wives stand in this line." And under that sign, there was only one person. So he walks over to the guy. He grabs the guy by the arm. He said, "Listen, I got to ask you a question. What's your secret? How'd you do it? How did you live on earth and not be dominated by your wife?" That other line has millions upon millions of men in it who were dominated by their wife, but you're the only one in this line who was not dominated by his wife. How did you do it? I got to know. And the guy says, "Well, I couldn't really tell you, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what happened. I'm just standing here because my wife told me to."
I'm gonna say this better be funny.
Long story.
Boom.
But it's that question, right? It's like, you have in most relationships, there's always going to be one dominating personality and one passive personality.
Yeah.
Those are the marriages, in my opinion. Those are the relationships that tend to work better when you have recognized that one of us is more dominating, more aggressive, and one of us is more passive.
What would you say ours is?
Oh, I'm definitely the more aggressive one. You're very passive. Sometimes.
Jeez.
On Wednesday.
You're very passive.
But when I say that, let me qualify that. You typically go along with whatever I say.
Yeah.
Very rarely do you push back. And if you do, it's only because of the fears that you have, like fear of heights or
which I've overcome.
She's overcome it. We want to play. But it's never a pushback like, "I ain't doing that. You must have lost your mind." You don't go crazy with it. The pushback, your pushback is like, "I don't know," because you've never done it before, or those fears kind of creep up on
you're
you.
The dominant.
Definitely. But it's not a controlling thing, I don't think, because you've never said that I'm controlling you. You've never.
Other people might say that.
Other people have said that, actually. In the 20 years that we've been married.
It's just I'm an easy person. Like,
there you go.
It's not a big deal to me about
there you
stuff.
go. Right. And that's the key, why you have to make sure that you don't let other people define who you're supposed to be in your marriage. Yeah. You and your spouse have to be the ones who define your roles in that marriage. You have to have that conversation.
Seriously.
No,
I don't.
Sometimes that's not a good thing, but praise the Lord. You and your spouse need to sit down and get on your couch or wherever y'all have your conversations and talk about who has what role.
Who are you?
Who are you in your marriage? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you'll find that a lot of those conversations that you never had, you didn't have them because you didn't need to. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of things that we don't talk about just because we don't need to. Yeah. It's an understanding.
Oh, it's not a thought. Like, it doesn't come up
exactly
when we're conversating.
There's some things that I don't take it for granted. There are some things I don't need to ask you about because I already know what you're going to say. Mm-hmm. Now, we've been together for 22 years. So we've pretty much been through most of the seasons of life, except for empty nesting, because we had that first one, the honeymoon baby.
Yeah.
So we only spent 9 months as a married couple without kids.
Right.
And that was 9 months of anticipation waiting for her to get there. So in 20 years of marriage, we've only been husband and wife only with no kids for 9 months. 9 months. Jesus. I can't wait. We on the clock. Anyway, but it's important that married couples do define their roles, because if you're not careful, if you've not had the conversation, other people on the outside looking in will try to define who they think you are
Yeah.
and who they think your spouse is based on what they see rather than what really is, rather than facts.
Yeah.
They'll judge the book by the cover.
Right.
And that's never a good thing because they don't have to live with it in it, and they don't know what's in the background.
Mm-hmm.
They just see what's on the outside. And if you watched any do-it-yourself home fixer-upper show, you would be surprised. If you've ever watched how a movie is made, you would be surprised. I saw this clip today. I think it was on Instagram where they were talking about, or maybe Facebook. They were saying about guys being careful because you really don't know what these women are doing with the makeup and the hair. And
oh goodness!
there was this lady who, let's just say, she was not her most best self when the video started, and that she showed herself going through the process, fixed her hair, fixed her makeup, drew her eyebrows on, put her eyelashes on, make the lipstick, and then she sprayed this spray and made her skin tone change, and then she changed her outfit, then she put her teeth in, and the whole thing was like, night and day. The woman at the beginning of the video was not someone that you would, necessarily want to take out. The woman at the end of the video, once she was finished all of her transformation, was someone that, they like, oh, she's a model.
Some people's standards.
Right, right. And so the point they were making was, you've got to be careful what's under the hood. Well, the same is the true for marriages. Don't look at someone else's marriage and think that what you see on the surface is exactly what's going on.
Yeah,
you will see a married couple and think, wow, he's controlling her and he's just running her life, when the reality is she may be someone who doesn't want to make decisions. There are some people who are perfectly content not making decisions. And then too, he may be someone, I like to think that I'm a man who pays attention to your wants as much as your needs, so that I can anticipate what you're going to want.
And that's a trust too. Is you're like, if you are not, I don't want to say not worried, but you're content in the marriage where one person takes care of certain things or one thing, that just means that you have your trust level is
high. Right. Absolutely. It should be.
I mean, if they're happy, it could be something different.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Yeah, trust issue is a big thing. But those are the intangibles that people on the outside can't see.
Right.
I can't see that you're a content person. I can't see that you're a trusting person on the outside looking in. All I see is he telling you what to do and you doing it.
Right.
And that's where the danger comes in, when you let other people who don't know your inner workings try to then subsequently influence what you're doing. So it's very important that you don't do that.
You asked me the question, how I define myself in marriage. How do you define yourself?
I did.
You did?
I did.
Oh.
I can do it again if you want me to.
Sorry. It must have went over my head.
It's quite all right.
I told you it's been a week.
It's been a week.
Thursday felt like it was never going to get here.
Listen.
Go ahead. Continue.
What was the question?
Go ahead. There's no question.
But no, so my role, I believe that's my role.
Oh, you did say that. Provider, protector, care taker, not
right.
caregiver.
Right.
See, I remember when you okay.
Yeah.
You did.
Praise the Lord. Welcome to the couch. No, I'm kidding.
Sorry, I stepped away from the couch for a minute.
She's back. But and I alluded to that earlier, the difference between caretaker and caregiver. I see you as the caregiver of our relationship. I see myself as the caretaker, meaning I am responsible for taking care of you, your needs, your desires, your wants, your bills, your everyday routine as best as I can, influence in that. There's certain things that I can't do. And yet I see myself as having the responsibility to make sure that the things that I can't do, you have access to them to do yourself, or you have access to somebody who can do it for you.
And I'm the caregiver because I give. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Care because I give.
You always care about things, about people, about situations, even when you can't really fix it. You care enough to try, or you care enough to talk it out to help me fix it.
I guess that's true.
Yeah. And that's not a role that I placed upon you. That's a role that you naturally step into because of your character and your persona. Who you are at your core is someone who cares. Caregiver. Right. And so I didn't have to assign you that role, nor could I realistically assign you that role. And you would have never assigned yourself that role.
I wouldn't have.
No.
That's why when you asked, I was like, I don't know. I just
yeah, because there are some roles that we assume subconsciously because of our nature, because of our character, because of who we are at our core.
I think because in the back of my mind, I was like, well, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Right. Right. Exactly.
That's what I'm supposed to do as a wife
yeah.
or as a mom. Or,
yeah.
So I think that's why I didn't. And then when you said role, I was like, do we have roles in marriage? Like,
Sure. But there are certain things that you provide, that you bring to the table in our marriage. And there are certain things that I provide, certain things that I bring to the table in our marriage. And those things, those substances are what are the evidence of the identity of our roles. And that's why it's not fair to say, like you said earlier, roles are not equal in a marriage because there are things that you do that encompass a lot. So there'll be one or two words that encompass a lot of different things that you do. For somebody else, there could be a lot of words that encompass a lot of different things. So it's not fair to say, okay, she's got 12 roles and I've got 12 roles. I've got 15 roles or things like that. I mean, like your point earlier, chores are not roles. That's not a role that somebody assumes. That's a job that somebody handles. I try to make sure you don't take out the trash just because I like to keep your hands delicate. They delicate.
I don't like technology. It's just nasty.
It just needs to be done.
Yeah.
And you do it.
And I do it when it's.
Yeah. And then I get fussy, not because she did it, but I get fussy because she did it because I didn't get a chance to get to it. Now, sometimes she won't wait for me. She just do stuff. And then I'm looking at her like, where you coming from out the back door? I just took the trash out and then I'm all in my feelings. But it's because I didn't catch it before she caught it. I try to anticipate, but sometimes I just be missing it. The reality is there are certain things that I don't want you to ever have to do.
Right.
You know, somebody asked me recently, do you always open her door? And I'm like, I try to. I don't get everyone, but I try to. Not because you can't, not because you're dainty, but it's a small gesture that I believe shows you I'm thinking about you before I'm thinking about me. It makes absolutely no sense for me to be in the vehicle before you, whether I'm driving or not. Even if you're driving, I still want to make sure that you're settled, you're situated, and you're safe before I take care of me.
Did we had a discussion about that, didn't we? Chivalry.
Yeah, we did.
Is it still?
Is it a thing
relevant in 2021?
Yep.
I actually saw. I think we were in Maryland when we visited. I actually saw a couple come out of a store, and the guy went over to open the door, and that I was like, I've never seen that. Maybe I don't get out enough.
Yeah.
But that was like in a while. That's the first time I've seen it in a while.
Yeah.
Like I think I've seen it a couple of times up here. And I was like, oh,
it's rare. It's rare, at least in the places we find ourselves in, where men will do that anymore. But it's not always
a
role for him. No. Not if opening the door.
I know, but if the woman is driving, does the woman go over and open the man's door because he's in the passenger seat?
Check your comment section.
I don't.
Some people will say yes.
I don't.
Well, see, everybody goes back to that movie. There was that movie that said, she's the one, if she reaches over and unlocks
Oh
your
yeah,
door.
when she get
But
in,
them cars, that was in the 80s.
yeah.
Don't nobody have them cars no more. Everything is keyless entry.
Like we need a button now. Button.
But
you can get in.
by the time I unlock the button it unlocks all the doors. So yeah, that's out. We'll have to find another way, fellas, to figure out if she the one. But that's for the singles. This is married couples. Y'all should already be married. Praise the Lord. I lost my train of thought just that fast. Yeah, so because we chasing rabbits now, but
that means you take a nap before we get on the couch.
I'm gonna have to start. I'm gonna have to take a nap before you get on the couch.
Take a nap before you get on the couch.
That's a whole thing. So okay, it's 9:41. Let me give you 3 quick points that I want to make sure you get before we get out of here. Here's the first thing: traditional is wrong. I know, right? It sounds weird. Yes, tradition says the husband has to make the most money and the wife has to be the domestic cooking, cleaning,
I was like,
taking care of the children.
That's a strong word, wrong.
And it's absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
Marriage is a partnership, not 50-50. 100%.
100%.
Nevertheless, tradition would say, what is it, barefoot and pregnant?
Yeah.
And cooking and cleaning, and then husband he'd go out and
bring the bacon home.
Right. That is 100% wrong. Tradition has so many labels that they've placed on the role of a husband and the role of a wife. And I will tell you, tradition is wrong. You have to define your role for yourself.
Isn't the role of the marriage?
Finish the question.
That was my question.
Ask it again. I'm sorry. I thought there was something else. Ask it again.
No, because you were saying the role of the husband and the role of the wife. I said, shouldn't it be the role of the marriage? Like the marriage, like you said, you become partners and it's 100. So both spouses should be not doing a role, but
they should be doing a role. Yeah.
Together.
Not necessarily.
No,
because there's a role that I'm going to carry and there's a role that you're going to carry. So we won't be doing the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But you've got to get away from the traditional approach to the role identity, because again, tradition would have us back in the 50s where the woman didn't work. Are we in
tradition anymore in 2021?
Believe it or not, there are still some people who believe the woman shouldn't work. There are some people who believe even if she works, that's her money, and that the husband is supposed to pay all the bills with his money. I guess
it matters in your marriage. Like what
there are some traditions that say the wife is the only one supposed to do the cooking. There are some traditions in 2021. There are some people who still believe a husband should never have to make his own plate.
What tradition is that?
It's a tradition that says, "Oh yeah, oh yeah." There are some people who still subscribe to that concept, where the wife.
That's not ours, is it?
Lord, no.
Oh, I know it's not. I just ask.
Some people still believe the wife should serve her husband. It's crazy. I know. It boggles the mind. Moving right along. So that's the first point. Traditional is wrong. I'm gonna
keep quiet on that one.
Here's the second point. Traditional is also right.
I knew he was gonna say that.
Well, it's true.
I knew he was gonna say it was right and wrong.
It is.
Okay, where is it right?
The husband is the protector.
Yes, he is.
And the wife is the caregiver. If you go back to the original premise, when God created Eve, it was because Adam needed a suitable helpmate.
Helpmate, yes.
And so wives are supposed to be that for their husbands, which you are for me. And that's where the caregiver piece comes in. Because caring is not just rubbing his feet, rubbing his back, that kind of thing. We're not talking about that. That might be part of it if that's the dynamic of your marriage.
Right.
But caregiving is as I stated before. If I have a problem, you care enough that I have a problem.
Yeah.
That you try to help me find a solution, even if you don't necessarily know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, the husband is the protector. In every marriage, the man is supposed to protect his wife.
Right.
Now that is going to draw some comments, I'm sure, and bring them, put them in the chat. We can talk about it. But when I say that, I don't mean that you can't go anywhere without me.
Right.
Part of my protecting you is making sure that your car runs so that when you go without me, I don't have to worry about it breaking down as best as I can.
Right.
Protecting you means you've got your own money, even if you're going out with your girlfriends, even if you're going out with your sister, making sure you have what you need to be safe, to be cared for, to be taken care of. Protecting you means maybe I put you in a self-defense class so that when I'm not physically there, you can defend yourself if need be. All of those kinds of things. Protecting, keeping you emotionally safe, keeping you physically safe, financially safe.
But can't the wife be a protector too? I mean, not the the protector
of the husband,
but different way.
Well, see, here's
like
the
I'm gonna
thing.
keep all them ones who look at you away. That's how I'm gonna protect you.
Yeah, that's more protecting your investment than protecting me. You're not protecting me by keeping those ones away. That's not protecting me. Sorry. I know.
Oh.
I know you wanted it to be, but it's not.
I was trying.
Keep trying though. You'll get there. That's not. No, not really. Protecting me from them means meeting my needs and as many of my wants as humanly possible. That's how you protect.
Well, yeah. I was gonna get to that before you cut me off.
I didn't cut you off.
I was about to say I gotta keep myself up and I gotta do what I'm supposed to do to keep you satisfied. And you was like, no, that ain't.
Well, because the way you put it, it was.
I mean, I was trying to.
Okay, go ahead. I'm stopping.
I'm finished now. You didn't stop my
number
comment.
3. Oh no, wait. Go back to point number 2. Traditional is also right. Yes, the husband is the protector, the wife is the caregiver. The husband, and y'all not gonna like this. The husband is the head of the household. The wife is his partner.
You looking at me?
No.
I was like, I
mean,
agree.
we talking.
I'm. You was looking at me like
there's nobody else on the couch.
No, but you was looking at me like
I didn't look at you like that.
Yes, you did. You was like,
I just looked at you.
The wife is the partner.
I just looked at you because you agreed that wives are partners.
Yes.
And the husband is the head of the household.
I was like, yeah, I agree.
See, people have a challenge with that concept because they want to have this equality aspect to the marriage. And it's not that at all. That's not what this really speaks to. Being the head of the household doesn't mean it's my way or the highway.
Right.
Being the head of the household means I'm the one responsible for everybody in the household.
Yeah.
Our dynamic
and wives have to respect
that
role.
Our dynamic is this. Anything that we need to discuss, we discuss. The final decision rests with me because I'm the head of the household. Now, that may mean I choose to do things her way because I believe that that option is the best option for the household. I have a responsibility as head of the household to make sure that every decision that's made that impacts the household is the best decision for the household. When you go back to the biblical concept of husbands and wives, God made the husband the head of the household. Go back to Genesis. When God came into the garden, he came and said, Adam, where are you? Even though Adam and Eve sinned. Adam and Eve ate the apple. God came looking for Adam because God made Adam and put him as manager over everything. That's what he said. I'm creating you, man. I'm putting you in the garden, and you are to be ruler over everything. I use that ruler word loosely, but that was God's word, not mine. So as head of the household, I'm responsible. Even though Eve ate the fruit first, it wasn't until Adam ate the fruit that their eyes were open because Adam made a decision that impacted the household. So when I say the husband of the household, that means that he's responsible for everything and everyone in the household. That's what I mean by that statement. And that's where tradition is right in that sense. But don't make no mistake about it. By no means, no way, shape, form, or fashion is the husband supposed to rule his house as a dictator as it pertains to his wife. Kids, that's a whole different story. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the wife, the husband and the wife, that relationship. He's the head of the household, and the wife is his partner. Equal partner in the sense that she's got access to everything. Equal partner in the sense that she should benefit from everything. Equal partner in the sense that there's nothing off limits within the parameters of the marriage. So yes, tradition is wrong. Tradition is right. Here's the third one. And this one supersedes everything else. We define us. Write that in your notes. You're going to need that later. It's vital that as a couple, you have this conversation together without the influence or input of other people. Have this conversation and agree on each other's responsibilities. Become aware of each other's role. Because once you've done that, when the naysayers and the doubters and the haters and the other people who are looking in from the outside through a drawn curtain and a pulled shade, trying to figure out why it looks the way it looks, come for you, you'll be able to say, no, we've already talked about this. We've already established this. We've already settled it. So it doesn't matter what it looks like to you. This is the way it truly is for us. You have to have that conversation because the husband is responsible for the wife and the wife is responsible for the husband. And it is vitally important that as you go through life, you know what your role is in your marriage, because guess what? It's your marriage. It's not theirs. It's not his or hers. It's your marriage. And so you need to know what your role is. You also need to know what your spouse expects of you. And if you don't have the conversation, then you will never know what your spouse expects from you. Right. So it's important to have that conversation and do that.
Are we getting to?
You got something for us?
I do have something.
Outstanding.
I don't have Betta's verse, but I did find something online and a scripture to go with it. It's on the godidentity.com is where I'm reading. Wives can do anything if husbands allow them to flourish. Excuse me. Sometimes a husband will just misunderstand his role and try to manage his wife and apply controls to everything she does. A godly husband will always allow his wife to fulfill all of her potential by supporting her ambitions and encouraging her. Equally, a gracious wife will support her husband to be a man after God's own heart. It's all about learning, sharing, and growing together. And in Proverbs 31:10-12, it says, a wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. Verse 12, she brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life.
Amen. Amen. That was good. So listen, role identities. Who defines who I am? You define who you are. Your spouse defines who you are. The marriage should define who you are. And don't look at your role as less than your spouse's, nor look at your spouse's as greater than yours. Because if I'm doing my part and you're doing your part,
that's good.
Everybody's taken care of.
Yep.
And so it's important that we do that. Listen, we're going to get out of your way so that you can enjoy the balance of your evening. As my mother would love to say, shout out to Barbara Moore. Happy belated birthday to her. We're so grateful for that. And so it's been a joy. Listen, next month, July, we're going to do a series on boundaries. So we're going to be talking about boundaries the whole month. And actually, next week is July 1st. So we're going to kick it right off next Thursday. So we're going to do a series on boundaries. I believe it's going to be a 4-part series on boundaries, where we're talking about boundaries in your marriage, boundaries around your marriage, and boundaries that your marriage should not cross. And so make sure you're with us the entire month of July. We're looking forward to it. We can't wait. We're so excited. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook,
up there,
because you're going to miss out on some things. We've already told you that in the month of August, we're going to have a live Q&A show where you'll
Yay.
be able to interact with us. But now here's the key. Here's the catch. You can only post your questions to the Happy Spouse, Happy House Facebook page. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're clicking on it to like it and follow it. Make sure you hit the notification so that every time we post content, you'll be able to get that. If you have questions that you want us to cover, if you have an anonymous question that you want to post, send it there. We don't share that information unless you give us permission. If you just want to have a one-on-one with either one of us or couple to couple, we can set that up as well. Reach out to us in any of those DM situations, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, even YouTube. If you're subscribed to the Couch Conversations YouTube channel, where you can go back and catch any of the old shows. But make sure that you've gone to Facebook and you've liked and subscribed to the Happy Spouse, Happy House Facebook page, because that page is where you're going to be able to post all of the questions that we're going to do our level best to respond to and address in August when we have our live Q&A. We're excited.
That'll be fun.
I'm excited. She's excited. And we can't wait. Listen, that's Vetta.
And that's Mac.
And this has been Couch Conversations. We'll see you next
Good
week.
night.
God bless you. Peace.